So if there's one thing that we talk about all the time, it's writers self-inserting themselves into whatever, project that they're making, whatever IP that they're adapting. They self-insert themselves all the time. They self-insert their identity politics. They self-insert everything other than the actual source material that those characters may be based on. And now we have some proof of it. So the Dungeons and Dragon team seemingly is coming out with a bunch of things they're saying that kind of just proves a lot of what people are looking at when it comes to modern day Hollywood. But it says Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves directors admit to using established IP as a costume for their own stories, and says we're still going to make the movie that we want to make. Now, I cannot say that I'm surprised in the slightest by their decision. It's actually pretty insane, but they know exactly what they're doing. It says, in a rather surprising moment of saying the quiet part out loud, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves directors Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley have admitted that rather viewing an established IP as something to be treated with reverence and care, they instead view them as nothing more than a bit of a costume to get ourselves in the door. Goldstein and Daley, who many recognize as a screenwriting duo behind Marvel's Spider-Man, Homecoming, and the co-directing team who helped the 2018 dark comedy film Game Night, provided this insight into their creative views during a recent interview given to Variety's Adam B. Vary in promotion of their upcoming live-action take on the eponymous tabletop RPG. Now, you guys are aware I love my RPGs. I really do. I play them all the time. I cannot wait for Final Fantasy 16. I'm so excited. But what they're doing with Dungeons and Dragons is pretty funny because Dungeons and Dragons was that IP that kind of snuck under the rug for quite a while. And now the company is getting so greedy that they view Dungeons and Dragons as a not super monetized IP that they have under their belt. So now they're trying to overly monetize it. They're trying to go ridiculous with it and put so much identity politics into it. They're trying to expand the maps as much as they possibly can. And it's really going to get messy and it's really going to get convoluted very, very quickly. And people are going to get fed up and they're not going to want anything to do with it anymore, which is already starting to happen. It says, following a brief recollection of their first respective experiences with the game itself, Daley was introduced to the game on the set of Freaks and Geeks, while a 12-year-old Goldstein was introduced to it by his older brother, the creative team. Was subsequently asked by Variety if these experiences impacted the creative approach to Honor Among Thieves. It wasn't so much that, began Goldstein, it was seeing the potential to bring what we had brought to small and medium-sized movies to a much bigger canvas. We didn't want to do a straightforward fantasy epic drama, nor did we want to do a spoof or something where the comedy was the lead of it. We wanted to do a movie that was true to the spirit of the game, would appeal to the fans, but also could stand on its own. Yeah, I don't really think this is the movie that's gonna appease the fans. I just really don't think that's gonna happen. The fans are honestly very pissed off. Like I said, a lot of them just don't want to deal with it anymore. It says a lot of the world has already been built, added Daly. You have all these books that you can use as references and creatures and monsters that are unique to D&D and no other fantasy piece of IP. To be able to embrace the absurdity and oddity of some of these creatures and spells allow us to make that thing that we felt very much aligned with our sensibility. John mentioned Monty Python earlier in our conversation, interjected Goldstein. That's not quite the tone, but what those guys did very successfully was make intelligent absurdity to shine a light on the ridiculousness of medieval cliches. We're trying to do that with the fantasy genre. To this end, Varied then asked the directors if they had any opinion on why it's been so hard to adapt D&D into a successful movie, to which Daly opined sometimes people take it too seriously and want to embrace the more dramatic elements of it. Well, why wouldn't they want to take it seriously? You're trying to portray one of the most famous tabletop games of all time on screen. You're trying to get that on screen. Well, the only way you're going to do that is with following the source material and respecting it as much as you possibly can. But unfortunately for them, they're just incapable of doing that. They're just fully incapable of doing that, and it's only going to continue to get worse. It says, to us, that's ridiculous because you've got literally brains with 4 legs, Creatures that were so obviously written with a wink, said the former Bone Star. On the flip side, if you try to get too goofy with it, you're also doing it a disservice. What we learned doing Spider-Man No Way Homecoming was that while you have a certain reverence for love and the love of the source material, you can't let the weight of that thing hinder your creativity, asserted Goldstein. Pressed by Vari on how to shook the weight off for Honor Among Thieves, the co-director declared it never left us with this one. We had people looking over his shoulder from the brand, from the studio, he recalled. Even on set, he had advisors who, well, she said she had to say something if she's going to do the spell because the spell has been verbal component. The good thing about working with D&D specifically is not like we're bound by the characters or pre-existing stories. We made up almost all the characters that are in here. Yeah, I'm not surprised they made up all the characters because, listen, it's cheaper. Number one, it's much, much cheaper than having established characters that you need to build on. It's way cheaper to do characters that are already here. Asked by Vari if able to do the kind of storytelling at that level you would want to do it, do you feel you have to find a way into a franchise versus writing an original story, Goldstein admitted, using existing IP certainly greases the wheels. Any meeting we have with a studio head starts with, here are 4 things we own. Got any interest? I said, the co-director. To some extent, I think we use intellectual property as a bit of a costume to get ourselves in the door. We're still going to make the movie that we want to make. It just makes all a bit easier to get it going if it has something that people are very familiar with. Yeah, I just don't see how people are going to be familiar with a movie like this, that according to what a lot of these people say, the only way you could watch a movie is by absolutely seeing yourself. Like, you have to see yourself perfectly in order for you to actually go see this movie or even enjoy it. So I'm going to flat out say, I don't see a single Puerto Rican that looks like me here. And because of that, that's a problem. That's a problem. The other people have regular swords. Regardless, we already know that Dungeons & Dragons is going to be trash. We can tell from a mile away. Dungeons & Dragons is 100% a dead-on-arrival brand. Do not go spend your money on this movie. I guarantee you it's going to be trash. Let other reviewers review it first. And if you trust those people and they give it a good review, then you know you can go watch the movie and know what to expect in terms of wokeness and whatnot, or even spoilers. But other than that, if you're not, don't spend the money. Don't even bother. Just wait for it to go on streaming or something along those lines. Or even that, don't even bother with. It's all just dependent on you. But they're going to try to make as much money from the D&D IP as possible because they feel like it was underutilized and under-monetized previously, and they're trying to fix that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.